What's up everybody, hope all is well. The Overwatch 2 launch has been like the Mona Lisa covered in mud. Underneath the grime of monetization, technical issues, and poor communication is something exemplary. It's not every day Blizzard launches a game. Historically, these are moments to be cherished and remembered, but times have changed and so has the company. Instead of celebrating the art and gameplay, players are instead focused on other things. In fairness, this is something Blizzard brought on themselves. So, in considering what my first Overwatch 2 video should be, I thought the launch is the best place to start. It's the tale of a company and game attempting to claw its way out of a bygone era and into the future. It's a tale somewhat illustrative of how Blizzard has, in part, lost its way. In all honesty, I had faith everything would be okay until just a few weeks ago. Despite changing to a live service, going 5v5 and losing Jeff, I still held out hope the Overwatch team could and would rise above the de facto Activision Blizzard standard. I mean, there'd be monetization, sure, but it wouldn't be that bad, right? There'd be game changes, but surely gameplay wouldn't be sacrificed, right? I mean, this is Overwatch, a future worth fighting for, right? All that changed though when I learned heroes would be locked behind the battle pass, and that anxiety for the future grew when I read about the SMS requirement. We'll get into it all, but at that moment, I knew Blizz would lose the narrative at launch. In a few weeks' time, talk will be dominated by that stuff, not the game and its wonderfully unique and fun gameplay. Ultimately, my hunch was right. I followed the news and happenings relentlessly the last week, and it's been dominated by negativity. Everyone's divided. It's the polar opposite of Overwatch 1 a week in, and it's concerning. Like I said, I fear the narrative's been lost, and while I think Blizz can and will recover, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So let's get into it. The gameplay, the battle pass, the shop, the missing PvE, the technical issues, and more. A lot to cover, but I'll keep it brief because I'm going to do a deep dive on a few of these in the future. SMS Protect is a great idea, poorly executed. How they didn't see that shunning thousands would backfire is beyond me. It was pretty much a middle finger to gamers who got cut off from playing a game they've invested in and enjoyed for 6+ years simply because they didn't have a certain type of cell phone plan. No one said it, but we were all thinking it, and their silence didn't help. Some study they did probably said players who couldn't afford this level of cell service weren't likely to spend money in game, so they stood to lose nothing financially speaking. Ultimately though, they did the right thing and rolled it back to affect just new accounts, but the damage to the launch's image was done. Blizzard's also recording voice chat now. They were pretty clear to state that the audio file and transcribed text file are both deleted within 30 days. Whether or not you believe that is up to you. But part of me is creeped out on being recorded, though part of me assumed I already was, and yet another part of me thinks it's a disaster in the making, both technically and legally. While there may be merit here, I think the way it was communicated was another big L for the launch. Now, I know a lot of you won't like to hear this, but these sort of systems are the future. As games grow more complex and global and interactive, advanced tools to manage populations will become necessary. It's about more than banning someone. They want a client profile for each of us so they can reach beyond that and start to identify specific types of players who might want to quit or don't spend money or cause problems and act proactively. And your phone number is an important data point with which they can obtain additional marketing, demographics, and financial information. Combine that with all they know about you in game via performance, habits, friends, chat, voice chat, and it's easy to see what they're driving at. Online anonymity is gone. They just don't tell you that. Collectively, they're leveraging all our behaviors and habits to optimize profitability. Creating a safer gaming space is just a fortunate byproduct of driving towards the money. If it wasn't profitable, they probably wouldn't care so much. Overwatch 1 is ample proof. Beyond those two big things, there were a bunch of other issues. The DDoS and queue times are now a meme. Thanks, Donkey. That was pretty bad. Yeah, people losing items, accounts being wiped, merged account problems, lag, classic accounts starting in the new player experience, disconnects. So, oh boy, it was pretty rough. From a purely technical standpoint, it was about as bad as it gets, short of breaking systems. But you want to talk about things that hurt the game's launch? There's nothing bigger than the omission of PvE. It was the selling point for the sequel. tool. I personally dare say the game doesn't deserve a 2 in its title without it. I'm a mega PvE fan, have made a bunch of videos about its development for Overwatch 2, my most popular by a long shot ironically. Saying there's interest in it is an understatement. Done well, it will redefine the ban and possibly even overshadow the PvP, I'm not kidding. Now, Blizz explained why it's being delayed and their logic's sound, but tactically I don't think they handled it right. The biggest marketing tool they had, being a sequel, you know, that number 2 means just a fraction of what it could have and should have absent its primary value proposition. Instead, they've used the Overwatch 2 title to launch a half-baked product loaded with monetization, potentially squandering some goodwill and interest that could come back to haunt them later when they do actually release the PvE. And you know, I love you, Blizz, but again, this is your doing. You talked it up so much and showed us some incredible test footage. Combined with your pedigree for exceptional PvE, fans hadn't been that hyped in years. It's unfortunate, but I honestly think most understood and were happy to wait longer for a better PvE game. What you should have done is say you're sticking to the original vision and Overwatch 2 will be about the PvE. Give us the full free-to-play PvP package now and say something sincere and genuine and endearing like, it looks like Overwatch 2, but it's totally not Overwatch 2. You know, be relatable, be real. Because as it stands now, it really looks like you rushed PvP out the door and sacrificed the Overwatch 2 name just to get people paying ASAP. Let's talk monetization. Here are some facts to put things in perspective. Legendary skins cost $20 or 1900 coins, and coins can only be purchased for cash or earned via weekly challenges and are capped at 60. So if you want to play to earn, assuming you play enough to complete all the challenges, you're looking at 8 months. Realistically, this figure is doubled for the average casual player, so $20 or 8 to 16 months of your playtime for a single skin. Am I alone here thinking it's strange an entire hero is just $10 or 50-ish hours of your playtime, but a legendary skin costs more and can take more than a year of playing? There's a disconnect there. But let's continue. Some items can only be obtained with premium currency, some with classic currency, some with only the battle pass, some with only Twitch drops, and some temporarily only in the store, and some are noted as being available in only select seasons. I don't know, I feel like, why am I jumping through all these hoops to obtain something I want? If they're gonna monetize everything, just put it all for sale directly in the store permanently. But I know we can't do that. FOMO's a powerful tool. Moving on, the shop contains various bundles that rotate, complete with a special selection created just for you where it appears they're scanning to see what items you don't have and creating themed packages to purchase. There are also separate tabs for seasonal and league items, and as noted, you can also purchase premium currency. The battle pass specifically is a bit lackluster, mainly junk filler aside from the hero, which I personally will never agree should be in the battle pass, but you also get a mythic skin and a few legendaries. Most of this is only available to paying customers who got the premium battle pass, so take note of that. And as of this writing, I've played about 15ish hours, completed 4 weeklies, and I think I'm level 17 or 18. I plan to keep an eye on the stats here, and eventually I'll do a long-term review of the battle pass. So what can we conclude about the monetization? It's pretty rough, about what we've come to expect from live service games, though arguably a bit worse. Not being able to earn currency in the battle pass is a big stumble in my opinion, but all in all, a huge change from Overwatch 1. It's fully, and I mean fully, monetized. You can't obtain anything really for a reasonable price or amount of playtime. Alright, the gameplay, really the saving grace of the launch. In a month or so, once some sort of metas are formed and matchmaking's calmed down, I'll do a full review on this, but for now, let's talk high level. Am I enjoying myself? Yeah, for sure. Do I like it as much as Overwatch 1? I don't know, maybe, but I do think it's good. Maybe just not as good for me personally. I do appreciate how it's faster paced and freeform. I appreciate how individual contributions matter more, and I appreciate how CC's been toned down and the roles are more defined. It's definitely a more deathmatchy version of Overwatch, and for many players that works. Not so much for me, as I sincerely enjoyed the methodical feel of Overwatch 1 more than anything in gaming pretty much in my life. But despite the aforementioned changes, it feels like the heart of Overwatch is still there, and while not beating as hard, it's enough to keep that aspect alive. I have faith I'll enjoy it more when things settle down. Right now, matchmaking's pretty rough. A lot of players are just messing around, checking stuff out, and we're all learning how to play. All of that contributes to the chaotic cinematic feel, but like I'm playing classic maps and occasionally forget it's Overwatch 2. In those head-to-head 5v5 battles, the pressure and pace is there. Both teams sort of squaring up, measuring each other, waiting for an opening to strike. It's great and what I play for. But then I play one of the push maps and it's just straight up, what the F is this, you know? So I'm curious to see how it'll all play out. Speaking of push, actually, the less said the better. I think this is the new mode that everybody insta leaves. But that game mode aside, the rest of the new maps all feel really good and are beautifully designed. All three of the new heroes are exceptional in my opinion. Junker Queen's pretty unique for tanks, Sojourn's just a mashup of a few DPS, but still uber, and Kiriko is so awesome. I'll do a video on her probably next. She's awesome, man. Oh geesh. There is, however, one specific aspect of gameplay I'm keeping a close eye on, what I'll call downtime, the time between fights where by virtue of being 5v5 is often spent idle or respawning instead of sort of that intermediary poking phase. I'm feeling a pretty big spike here as a result of only having one tank. Soon as they go down, the fight's over and one of two things happen. The rest of our team is steamrolled back to the spawn, or you spend the next 30 seconds retreating for your life back to your tank. Not every time, but often enough I've noticed. Either way, that's, you know, for me personally, just not really enjoyable gameplay. There's no more hanging in there down a player when you don't have a tank to soak up all the DPS. So, final thoughts. In the intro I said this launch is a tale of a game trying to claw its way out of the past and into the future, and it is indeed clawing. On one hand, Blizzard's biggest strength, gameplay, appears to be as strong as ever. An argument can be made this is the best Overwatch has ever played. I mean, an argument depending on your preferences. On the other hand, it feels like every other aspect is a struggle and a fight. All this free-to-play stuff has stumbled in execution and value, the Defense Matrix initiative backfired, there's been no marketing or tie-ins, and there's no unified vision being communicated to the players. In the intro, I also said it's a tale of a company that's somewhat lost its way. I wonder, is Blizzard venturing too far from what they are, what they need to be to make a good game? Is what they're working towards even compatible with the culture and DNA? What makes a game good is almost entirely based on artistic aspects rather than its value proposition. Yet Blizzard's moving entirely away from the former and towards the latter, despite having proven for literally decades now the heart and soul of their greatness stems from their creative pursuits, not financial ones. You know, look, there's no denying the game itself is good, but there's also no denying it's walked right up to the line of not being worth it for many. And it's unfortunate that second part is a reality. I honestly think we need to start looking away from AAA developers for AAA experiences anymore, if that makes sense. But let's end on a high note. It's finally here and we're finally playing it. Can you believe it? You know, albeit on and off. I've been having a blast. Maybe I grow to love it as much as Overwatch 1, but even if not, it's still good enough for me to say it's a great game. Just keep your eye on that monetization, my goodness. And with that, I'm done. I've got like 5 videos lined up, so lots more coming soon. Until then, appreciate taking the time. Take care of one another.